This is my homemade DIY archery draw board, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make this draw board for yourself, all the supplies included, lengths, measurements, and everything. So when you finish this video, you have all the information you need to make one yourself. A draw board is necessary to make sure your bow is absolutely dialed when you head in the woods for a hunt or out to the range. As bow hunters, we work so hard all year round, prepping before season, hunting hard all year long, chasing those big bucks, bulls, or whatever you're after. And when the moment of truth finally presents itself, you're gonna wanna be ready. And having a draw board helps you do that. Let's dive into the specs. I bought the majority of these supplies from either Amazon or Lowe's, and honestly, this was a really simple and easy build that anyone could do. To start out the build, I used a 2" by 6" 8-foot number 2 fir kiln dried lumber. Got that for $4.92 from Lowe's, and I had it cut down to 5 feet in length. It's important to note a 2" by 6" board is actually smaller than 2 by 6 when it's totally finished. That's just fine for this build. The length of the board is nice because there's enough that sticks out the back side. You could use a clamp to clamp it to a table. The main component of the draw board is a TR Industrial 600-pound trailer winch. This was $24.99 on Amazon and works perfectly. I placed the winch starting at about 7 inches from the end of the board. The other side's about 10.5 inches, and the center of the winch is roughly 8 3/4 inches from the end of the board. For the cord, there's multiple different options you could use. I decided on 550-pound paracord, black in color, to make it look nice and match. Got this on Amazon for $5.99, and that's a 50-foot strand of that, which is more than enough. For the main cord here, I used 7 feet of paracord, which is more than enough to wrap around the winch a couple times and not come anywhere close to coming out. And then up here toward the other end, I actually have 20 inches of paracord for a safety that will go around the string of the bow just in case the D-loop breaks. Then that's not going to dry fire in your draw board. I would highly recommend adding this thing. Super simple, but it's just an extra safety measure when you're drawing your bow back. Now you could just use a simple carabiner up here to attach to the D-loop, but I took it a step further. I used a Reed Knee turnbuckle. It's an M6 220-pound test. It was $10.98 on Amazon, and this allows me to fine-tune adjustments absolutely perfectly. I can just turn this turnbuckle a little bit one way or another, and I can check synchronization just unbelievable, like micro adjust like you've never seen doing this, instead of just relying on each click of the winch, which is a pretty big adjustment. If you just get it close with that winch and then slowly turn the turnbuckle one way or another, you can fine tune, synchronization, you can get the exact draw length, you can fine tune everything. So I would highly recommend using the turnbuckle, and it's, again, 220 pounds, so it's gonna be safe on there. I haven't had a single problem with that whatsoever. But like I said, I would recommend adding that safety and that paracord loop over top just in case. On the other end, to hold the bow in, I used a Reliabilt 3/4 inch black floor flange. That was $8.71 at Lowe's. And a Reliabilt 3/4 inch by 4 inch black pipe that goes into that floor flange. That was $4.28 also at Lowe's. And this has been the absolute perfect thing to hold my bow in place. Great size and super, super sturdy. Absolutely not going anywhere and not gonna break. I placed the center of the post roughly 8 1/4 inches from the end of the board. You'll also notice on both the flange and the pipe, I wrapped it in a brown felt. You can get this on Amazon, and the purpose is just to protect the bow when it's in there. The flange and pipe are both metal, so they could potentially scratch some paint on the bow, especially on the shelf. We don't want that, so I just wrap that nicely, and that way the bow is never contacting anything too hard. This paracord that I wrapped around the pipe is another level of protection for the bow, and I found it also makes it really secure. When you put that bow grip in there, it is not sliding around, it's not moving up and down at all. It is locked in there, and it just seemed to work out really well. You could maybe put a piece of rubber pipe over top of that steel pipe or something like that. I think that would work well too, but I found this combination of felt and paracord to work out perfectly for me. Adding this yardstick made it so easy to check my draw length, but what you don't want to forget is placing it in the right spot. You're going to want to add 1 3/4 inches on to the end of where this pipe is, where this grip is going to sit. That's how you check your draw length. It's measured from the throat of the grip to the nocking point of the arrow plus 1 3/4 inches. So when you're placing your yardstick on, do not forget about that. Make sure it is absolutely perfect. That way you know when you check your draw length in your draw board, it is dead on and perfect. This is a Johnson Level and Tool J236 aluminum yardstick, 36 inches. Got this on Amazon for $4.18. You'll notice how the winch, yardstick, and posts are all offset. They're not centered in the board, and I did that intentionally. The winch is down here on the bottom or the left side of the board, and that's so when I crank the crank, it doesn't run into the board. If it was centered, I couldn't even get it all the way around. It hit the board. The yardstick, I have that offset because I really only need this top edge to be able to check my draw length since the bottom side is flipped around. So I centered this top edge in the board, and that just made it offset just a little bit. That way when I draw the bow back, I can just look straight down through the nocking point and I can see perfectly what the draw length is. Now for a right-handed bow, I have the post up here on the top side or the right side of this board, and that's because the majority of bows and all the bows that I shoot, the grip is not actually centered in the bow. The rest is essentially, the shelf area is, so that arrow is going out through the center, so the grip is actually a little bit lower. And what I like to do with my right-handed bow, I put it face down, and with this up on this side, it actually makes it super centered. So when I draw this back, I'm drawing through the center of the board and instead of the side, and that just makes it a lot easier so my bow isn't wobbling back and forth when I'm drawing it back. It's a lot more stable and sturdy, and then I get a better draw length measurement because of that. So whether you're a right-handed shooter or left-handed shooter, whatever type of bow you shoot, make sure you pay attention to that. You may need to offset your post just a little bit one way or another. At the end of this board, I just drilled a hole in here to put the turnbuckle in there. That way when I'm not using it, it's nice and secure and it's not flopping all over the place. The hardware I used in this build is actually really important because the last thing you want is to draw your bow back and something pulls out, a screw comes out, and you dry fire your bow and the whole thing just blows up and falls apart. That is not what I wanted, so I went super heavy duty with this. On the winch side, I have 4 heavy duty bolts. They're Hillman 3/8 inch by 1.5 inch stainless coarse thread hex bolts. They were $4.68 at Lowe's, and I have them ran all the way through the board. I also used Hillman 3/8 inch stainless steel standard flat washers. On the top side, those were $1.68 at Lowe's. On the back side, there's Hillman 3/8 inch by 16 stainless steel nylon insert nuts. Those were $2.40 at Lowe's. Having that go all the way through the board with 4 bolts and nuts on the other side just makes it super secure. Instead of just putting some screws in there and hoping they hold, I wanted bolts going all the way through. That way it has no chance of ripping out. On the post side, I also have 4 bolts in there, and they had to be tapered heads. That way they fit into that floor flange nicely and don't stick out and rub against my bow. But again, they're 1.5 inches long. That way they go all the way through the board, and I have nuts on the other side, 4 of them, so that floor flange has no chance of ripping out of there. I could have just used some simple screws and hope that it held, but again, I did not want to risk having that thing fall out and basically dry firing my bow. So went secure and put them in there. And also on both this side and the winch side, I drilled holes in there and made sure that my bolts were shorter than the width of the board. That way they're not sticking out the bottom and like scraping on the table that I'm using to put this drawboard to use on. I wanted them sunk in there a little bit so it's secure, but they're totally out of the way. They're not going to be scraping on anything. These ones are Hillman number 14 20 by 1.5 inch Phillips drive machine screws. They were $2.98 at Lowe's. And then Hillman 1/4 inch by 20 stainless steel nylon insert nuts, also $2.98 at Lowe's. I don't remember the exact name for the screws in the yardstick, but I also got them from Lowe's and they were very inexpensive. At this point in the build, you could be finished with your drawboard, but again, I took it a step further. I wanted it to look a little bit nicer and add a little durability, so I added some stain and polyurethane. I used Minwax Polyshades oil-based espresso semi-transparent satin interior stain. Got a 1/2 pint of this from Lowe's for $12.98. For that, I used a Project Source Economy 2-inch flat multi-purpose brush. That was $3.98 at Lowe's. Once I put a few applications of that on and it dried, I used Minwax fast drying polyurethane oil-based clear transparent semi-gloss interior stain. Got a 1/2 pint of that from Lowe's for $9.98. And with that, I used a Project Source 2-inch flat foam brush. That was $1.96 from Lowe's. All of these products I mentioned, I'll put in the video description. That way you don't have to go searching for them. This drawboard ties in perfectly with the Beaupress stand and table that I made. If you're interested to see how I did that, I made a video on that as well. It's also linked in the description. If you end up making one of these drawboards yourself, I'd love to see photos. You can post them under the community tab on our channel. The basic version of this DIY homemade drawboard came out to about $77.14, but with the addition of the stain and polyurethane, the total was around $106.04. I absolutely love how it turned out. It's been super useful over the last few years, and it's just so nice to be able to check your draw length synchronization either when you're building a new bow or throughout the year, just making sure everything's dialed in. I would highly recommend building your own drawboard. It's been awesome for me. It just builds the confidence in your setup that much more. And if you guys have any questions, anything that I did not cover in this video, please feel free to comment them down below and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. And if you haven't checked out some of our other videos, I encourage you to. We have a lot of hunts on this channel from over the years, just a lot of epic adventures. And if you're new to archery or looking to step up your game a little bit, check out our Learn Archery series. We have a lot of videos in that playlist to help you become a better archer and bow hunter. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.